My name's Jesse and I'm here to talk about how to pitch without ever stepping into a room. I've found that being a filmmaker, you can't just be good at making films, you can't just focus your craft on what goes on the screen. You have to be good at behind the scenes stuff as well, and that means pitching. A lot of people hate pitching. It's never that comfortable stepping in a room and speaking to a group of people who are only really there to judge you and decide whether your idea is worthy. That kind of sucks. Basically, this involves using a little bit of graphic design skills, a little bit of Photoshop, but not that much. You don't have to know Photoshop to listen to any of this. What I found very useful in the past is using a pitch document, or I like to call it a pitch packet. It's basically a visual document. It's a lot more interesting to read than a 2-page synopsis of your film. It does include a synopsis, but it includes other stuff too, like example concept art, character descriptions, a little bit about you as a filmmaker. It's hard to get someone to read a bunch of black words on a white page. It's boring. When you put images in there, it's a lot more interesting. The good news is you don't need to be a Photoshop whiz to do this. I use a little bit of Photoshop here and there just to basically get my page titles a little more dynamic. All you need to know is word processing software. So Microsoft Word, Apple Pages. I use Pages because I'm an Apple guy, but you don't even have to do that. Just pick a good font and go for your life. Usually my pitch documents are about 6 to 8 pages long, sometimes less, sometimes more. I usually pick a dark background because, again, it's just different than a white page. Make sure your fonts are the same. The only font choice that's usually different is that heading at the top of the page. The headings I go for are usually characters, the story, the filmmaker, or the filmmakers if you've got a team set up, the cast if you've got any cast in there. Inspiration is a good one because you can put some concept art on there. I don't think it's that bad to use concept art that other people have done. You've just got to write in there that this is not original artwork. The reason I think it's okay is you're not putting this out there in public. You're only sending this internally. So hopefully you're sending it to people that you know, people that might be able to support your project. It's really just to show what the project might become. So acknowledge the artist and put a little disclaimer in there that says this is intended to demonstrate the look and the mood and the tone of the film. Here's one I did for Switchblade Electric. It's dark, it's moody, it's got a lot of concept art in there. Not mine, but I was very clear about that. But it illustrates the mood of the piece. The titles are very uniform, it has a very unified quality to it, so it's very visually pleasing to look at. I did one for Quanta, which was a micro-budget feature film that I produced this year. One of my close friends, Nathan Dalton, directed and wrote the film, and we had created a short film for Quanta prior. So I happened to have all these photos from the short film, not just screen grabs from the film itself, but on-set imagery. And that was very useful to bring cast on board and crew because we made that movie for very little money and we had to ask for a lot of favors, and it was very handy having this visual document to get people excited. The audience isn't going to read the film or just hear about the film, they're going to see the film. So give them something to see, give people something to look at. It's such a simple thing. Film is a visual medium, so don't talk about it, show it. Once you've got a good pitch packet, the first thing you want to do is going to be email it to somebody. You could print it off, but again, save the trees, email it. It's amazing how much work you can do on a movie just through email. But if you email it straight away, it's probably gonna be 30 megabytes because it's full of pictures. Way too big for email. In fact, most email servers can't accept more than 12 megabytes. So one thing I've found very useful, and I'm not affiliated with this company at all, but it's just a tool that I've found handy, smallpdf.com. Just drag and drop your PDF, any kind of PDF, into the browser window and it converts it down to a very manageable size, often less than 1 megabyte, which is so easy to email. And there's very little loss in image quality. Usually my pitch documents are under 1 megabyte, which is tiny. It's actually a really satisfying feeling when you have this great looking document that there's very little footprint. It's very light. And when you click send, it sends right away. Now, Photoshop. I do recommend learning a little bit of Photoshop. It's just such a helpful tool if you need to slap a document together really quickly. Like I said, you don't have to know Photoshop. You can do this in Word or Pages, but if you do have Photoshop, it might just give you that edge that you need. Photoshop can be a little daunting at first. If you don't know it, it's kind of one of those things a lot of people think, oh, I've never learned it and I probably never will learn. But honestly, it's really easy. I started out probably knowing 3 or 4 things, and there's obviously thousands and thousands of things you can do in a program like Photoshop. It's very advanced, but at the same time, it's very simple. For basic tasks like, designing a good cover page for your pitch packet, it's really quite useful. Quick tip about Photoshop. The biggest creative hump that I had to get over when I was first learning it is the idea of layers. I'd never really heard of layers. I never really looked at an image and thought, how do they put that together digitally? But basically every Photoshop document or a lot of digital images you see are layer upon layer upon layer stacked on top of each other. You can turn them off, you can turn them on, you can move them around, and once you get your head around that, the whole thing kind of unlocks in your mind. Curves is a big tool that I use a lot in Photoshop. Curves is also in Premiere and After Effects. It's just such a good thing. It's basically a little line and you just grab the middle and you pull it up or pull it down. It either crushes the blacks or raises the whites a little, and it's just such a simple way to make your colors pop a little more or to make that brightness pop a little more. Anyway, that's a quick one today. Make that pitch document, send it out to everyone you know, and see who responds. I guarantee they'll enjoy reading it a lot more than just a text document. Keep writing, keep shooting, keep editing, keep pitching, and I'll see you next time.